Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Urmi and in today's video I'll be sharing the top 5 tips that you need when you are writing the CFA exams. So this video will be basically something that is applicable to each of the level because I'll be providing more generic tips on how you can basically prepare for each of the exam within the CFA program. So first thing first, if you have just signed up to the CFA program and if you are writing the CFA level 1 exam or any of the levels, the first thing that you want to do is you want to start as soon as possible. I think the key to success and the key to passing each of the exam is how early you start studying. Because the more time you give yourself, the more the more time you have to practice for the exam, the more time you give yourself to the revision, the more time you give yourself to digest each of the content. And I think starting as soon as possible is essential, especially because you don't want to end up the last 3 or 4 months just basically going over through everything very quickly without being able to make the connection between each of the reading. And I think it's essential that you have that more holistic approach when you're studying for the CFA exams, especially when you arrive to level 3, where basically everything is about portfolio management, and you'll see that each of the reading, everything is connected to each other. So it's very, very important that when you study for the exam, that you start as soon as possible. And you want to also give yourself that buffer time, especially because if sometimes you get stuck, or sometimes you're not feeling well, or sometimes you feel like this is not your day to study, you can take a break and you can pick up the study the next day when you're feeling a bit better. So always give yourself that room in terms of time, so that at least you're not rushing into things and you're not stressing out. So that's my first tip. The second tip is you want to practice as much as possible, and I think that's so important for any of the level that you're writing, because practice does make you perfect in this case. And the more you practice, the more prepared you will feel, the more confident you will feel. So I think it's very essential that whenever you're doing the exam or whenever you're practicing for the exam, that you basically practice from every sources that you have available, whether it's the ecosystem, whether it's the books, whether it's with other approved providers. Always make sure that you're practicing, because with the CFA program, since there is so much material that you have to grasp, it's very, very easy that you basically forget things. And I think practice will help you to keep the memory of everything that you have studied very fresh. So always make sure to practice as much as possible. My third tip is familiarize yourself with the ecosystem. And I think the ecosystem is a great tool for anyone who's basically studying for the CFA exam, because it has so much material, it has so much content, it has cue cards. I think it has like practice problem. Although some of the problems are taken from the books, I think you do have access to a lot of materials, a lot of practice problem. I think for each level you have access to 1,000 problems, and I think it's a great way to practice. And I think you want to familiarize yourself with the ecosystem. And what I love about the ecosystem is that if you're doing a mistake in a problem and you're not sure why, you also can see the comments from other candidates and you can see how they try to solve the problem. So it also gives you a chance to connect with other people, but also to learn from other people the approaches and the techniques they took to basically solve the question. So I think that's very, very essential. My fourth tip is to use the different forums available online, and I think those have been great, I think, for my learning, especially because you learn by yourself when you're studying for the CFA exam, and you don't have access like to a person, you don't have access to a professor. You are not able to ask a question, and I think the forums available like Analyst Forum or Reddit are great resources for you to ask questions, but also to find other information, because a lot of the time the question that you have is might be a question that is shared by someone else. Maybe someone else has asked a question, and you can see all the responses. And I think it helps you a lot to basically understand a little bit better the topic. And I think the forums are great resources for anyone who's studying, because it's sort of like something that you can lean on, especially because for the CFA exam, like they're very, very active, they're very responsive, everyone will get back to you right away. So I think those are great. That's a great tool for you to basically complement your studies. And my last tip for when you're taking the CFA exam is basically you want to make sure that you take care of yourself, and I think a lot of people neglect that. I think we're doing is just studying, and we forget that we're still a human being, and we still need to like sleep well, eat well, do exercise. And I think it's important that you keep that type of attitude, but that you have that type of habits also throughout your studies. Like if you're studying, let's say, if you have started to study 9 months prior, make sure that you have that constant approach where you take breaks, you go for a workout, you go for a walk, because I think it helps you for your own mental sanity, especially because the CFA program is so exhausting at certain time. It can be really exhausting. So hopefully this is something very useful. These are my top 5 tips for anyone who wants to start with the CFA program in 2024. So see you all next time.